The legendary swords created by Roman Dimitri, Salamander, Blaze, and Darkness grew in perfection with each new masterpiece he forged. Their differences weren't just in technique or refinement, they existed on an entirely different level of mastery. Marquis Valentino couldn't even begin to imagine how incredible Roman Dimitri's next sword would be. As Marquis Valentino met with Henry respectfully apologized to the Marquis, and informed him that young Master Roman Dimitri had gone straight to the training grounds after leaving the forge. Valentino felt a tinge of disappointment upon hearing this. However, as his curiosity only grew stronger, the scene then shifted to Roman at the training grounds, standing before his newly forged sword. Roman thought to himself that even in his previous life, he had never created a sword of this caliber. It must be thanks to the powers of the fire demon. As Roman gazed upon the weapon, a new martial art technique fitting for the Inferno arts began to take shape vividly within his mind. He releases his breath. Roman Dimitri decided to combine the immense fire demon power with his new sword. He executed the first technique of the fire demon martial arts, a single strike infused with burning intensity. The resulting explosion of power left Roman astonished. He realized that with this level of might, he could defeat his enemies in a single blow. Without hesitation, Roman charged forward and unleashed the second technique, Fire Demon Wave. He thought to himself that he would condense the power of the flames into a single point capable of breaking through anything in his path. Following that, he transitioned into the third technique, Fire Demon Fiery Explosion, which allowed him to unleash the fire demon's strength to its fullest extent. As Roman drove his sword into the ground, using the fourth technique of the fire demon martial art, the very earth began to crack and crumble, leaving a massive crater beneath him. Roman realized that this sword's style, resembling the very essence of the technique, which he associates with the fire demon, and his origins in the barren lands of Dimitri, perfectly represents a blacksmith family. With newfound pride, Roman decides to name this technique the fire demon martial art. The scene then transitions back to Marquis Valentino, who is delighted to hear that Roman has completed his sword. Roman confirms that not only is the weapon finished, but he is truly satisfied with the result. Hearing this, Marquis Valentino smiles and says he always knew Roman could achieve such greatness. Roman then reminds the Marquis of his promise. As agreed, the Marquis will have the privilege of seeing the sword before the auction. If he can offer a suitable price, he may even become its owner. As Henry brings the sword forward, Roman mentions that he plans to submit only this one sword for the auction, ensuring its exclusivity. Marquis Valentino's eyes widen with excitement as he beholds the sword that Roman has forged. The craftsmanship leaves him astounded. Politely, he asks if it would be rude to use his measurement device on the sword. Roman nods with a calm smile and replies, "Of course, Marquis. Please do as you wish." Marquis Valentino thanks him and activates the measuring device. Instantly, the device begins to shine with a radiant light. The Marquis's eyes widen in shock. Just like the Blaze sword, this new weapon's mana resonance easily surpasses level 10. He wonders to himself how much such a masterpiece would cost at the auction. Blaze had sold for 1,200 gold coins, so perhaps this one might reach 2,400. Yet deep down, he knows even that won't be enough. Finally, Marquis Valentino turns toward Roman with admiration in his eyes and respectfully inquires, "What is the name of this extraordinary sword?" Roman calmly replies that he has named the sword third name. Marquis Valentino is visibly shocked upon hearing this. He exclaims that a sword, the sword, known as third known name, is not inferior to Blaze, one of Roman Dimitri's finest works. Marquis Valentino insists that such a fine sword deserves a grand and dignified name worthy of its craftsmanship. Roman Dimitri, however, explains with a composed tone that among the 4 swords he created this time, third no name was actually the first experimental piece that paved the way for his final creation. He adds that the sword holds deep meaning for him because of the process it underwent during its making, a process filled with effort, growth, and discovery. That is why, to Roman Dimitri, this particular sword is even more special than the others. Marquis Valentino is stunned at the revelation of 4 swords. Trying to make sense of the information, he suggests that if Roman Dimitri's explanation is true, then a third known name must be the least refined among them. Roman Dimitri smiles softly, and admits that, relatively speaking, it does have the lowest level of completion out of the 4. However, he clarifies that it is by no means a low-grade weapon. In fact, the no-name series is several levels above a Blaze in both craftsmanship and performance. Surprised and eager, Marquis Valentino respectfully requests to see the 4th and final sword. Roman Dimitri nods and gestures for him to proceed. As the Marquis lays his eyes upon it, he is left in disbelief. The sheer presence of the blade feels almost otherworldly. He can hardly believe that such a weapon could even exist in the mortal realm. In that instant, Marquis Valentino fully understands why Roman Dmitri called the No-Name series experimental. To create a masterpiece of this magnitude, the process itself must have been a form of art, symphony of skill, precision, and imagination. Collectors, he realizes, will now compete fiercely to obtain even one sword from the No-Name series, willing to pay extravagant sums. The symbolic value alone, representing the journey toward perfection, makes third No-Name exceptionally coveted. A known name worth a fortune. Roman then turns to the Marquis and solemnly declares that the name of the final sword is Disaster. Moments later, the scene shifts to Marquis Valentino, leaving Dmitri. He rides away with a heavy yet inspired heart, thinking to himself that Disaster is a masterpiece beyond mortal reach, something he might never own, no matter the price. Yet he is determined that even if he cannot have Disaster, he will surely acquire the third No-Name. However, one question lingers in his mind. Why wasn't the sword Darkness submitted for the auction? The scene transitions to that very night. Inside the quiet halls of Dmitri, Roman stands before his younger brother Rudwell and hands him the sword Darkness. Startled, Rudwell asks why his brother is giving him such a powerful weapon. Roman responds gently, explaining that he believes Rudwell is the only one capable of taking his place in his absence. He wants Rudwell to carry the symbol of darkness and protect Dmitri in the days to come. Roman continues, his voice firm yet calm, telling Rudwell that Dmitri now stands on the edge of a cliff. If they retreat even a single step against the Cronus Empire, the family, and the people will face a miserable end. Even if Roman himself disappears one day, he wants Rudwell's presence alone to bring comfort and reassurance to the people. For Rudwell must become a true pillar everyone can trust and rely upon. Rudwell lowers his head, feeling the weight of his brother's words, and quietly admits that no matter how hard he tries, he can never fully replace Roman. Roman nods knowingly and says that from this moment forward, he will pass down the fire demon's power to Rudwell. He explains that the martial art allows one of the same bloodline to inherit it, and since they share the same blood, it is possible. Roman further adds that for now the power is only a small seed, but if Rudwell nurtures it properly, it will grow and make him stronger than ever before. Roman then looks at him and says softly, "The choice is yours." Rudwell, gripping the sword tightly, raises his eyes and declares that he will accept it. If it means becoming stronger to protect Dmitri, then he will endure anything. Hearing his resolve, Roman smiles and tells him, "The martial art I will teach you is called the Blazing Flame Sword Art.